For Archbishop Andrew Sartha, the president of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of India, it is vengeance all the way. The very next day after the latest synod of the Syro-Malabar bishops, Archbishop Sartha has defied the synodal decision to welcome a papal delegate from Rome to resolve the present crisis. Even before the arrival of the delegation from Pope Francis, Archbishop Sartha has started to take vengeance against the most respected Monsignor Antony Narikulam, the vicar of major archdiocese and cathedral basilica in Ernakulam. The Archdiocese of Ernakulam Angamaly has been resisting the synodal decision about a rubric in the newly published Taxa, or the text of the Holy Mass. The priests and the faithful of the Archdiocese are en masse determined to get their way of celebrating Holy Mass, that is, fully facing the congregation as a liturgical variant. Out of a total of 320 parish churches, 318 parishes and Mass centres continue this practice of celebrating Holy Mass versus populum. This is despite repeated circulars and appeals from the Synod and the Holy See. Now, the Basilica Vicar is being removed from his office for expressing his inability to celebrate Holy Mass in the synodal way because of the volatile pastoral situation he's facing in his parish. The following are the moving words of Monsignor Antony Narikulam delivered when his fellow priests came to him on the 5th of July 2023 to express their solidarity and support. Despite all the controversies raging during the last few years, I have never appeared before a TV camera or channels. Even now, I have not called you, I have not come to you, you have come to me. So are these, my fellow priests. It was deliberate on my part that I have not done any press interview until today. I should tell you why. For the last 40 years, I have been closely involved in the liturgical apostolate of my church. 34 years I have taught liturgy to seminarians and religious sisters. I have taught more than 2,000 seminarians and 5,000 sisters. I have taught them the virtue of obedience as well. At least 15 synods of the Syro-Malabar bishops I have participated, giving them orientation talks and clarifications on liturgical matters in my official capacity, either as Liturgy Commission Secretary for 30 years or as its member for over 40 years, since 1982 until last November. I have served as a priest under 7 or 8 bishops. I have never disobeyed my superiors. Not even once in my life have I opposed their decision of any superior. It's quite natural that people are now asking me, why are you not obeying now? Let me tell you frankly, it's 11 months since Archbishop Sartha came to this archdiocese. From the first day he came to me, I have been telling him, Vidave, we have certainly arrived at a solution. Please talk to our priests, start a dialogue with them and with the lay people. I shall be with you. I have never said I won't obey you. I've always said I will certainly obey. Now you know I am being removed or transferred from here on account of disobedience. I said I shall obey. But let's first bring about an atmosphere for it. Cardinal Alanjedi came to celebrate Holy Eucharist on the Palm Sunday last year. There were more than 100 police commandos around him. It was the same when Archbishop Sartha came on November 27th. Then again, when Father Puthavalli came, there were lots of police officers. Keeping this in background, I told my bishop, I cannot celebrate Holy Mass under police protection. Please, don't tell me to celebrate Holy Eucharist with the assistance of police personnel. That is my real problem. Celebrating Holy Mass amidst police officers holding rifles and guns would be just a counter-witness. I cannot simply think of it. I cannot do it. Don't force me to celebrate liturgy that way. Please, I cannot do it. I said, now, this is what they're interpreting as my disobedience. I said I shall celebrate, but let's create an atmosphere for it. Therefore, you see, it's not a case of disobedience. On the contrary, it's a case of peace and unity in the church. What is needed is peace and harmony in the church before you celebrate liturgy. It's a pity that the bishops are adamant about church laws. None of the letters I've received from the Archbishop contains a single reference to the Holy Bible. He is quoting only ecclesiastical and liturgical rules and regulations. We cannot pastor and minister the church with laws alone. There's the whole style of Pope Francis. He speaks always about dialogue and synodality. Pope Francis speaks always like, let's come together, let's think and work and pray together. Let's listen to each other. What we see now is the result of lack of such an approach. Simply rules. Laws alone cannot achieve anything. It's not lack of laws or lack of respect for laws. In fact, we have more than enough laws to apply. For example, the letter I received from Archbishop Sartha, he's quoting at least 37 canonical rules in the space of just 4 pages. No, that cannot be the right approach in the church. Maybe elsewhere, like in politics, that may be applicable, but never in the church. Church is the communion of people who appreciate, support, and love each other. Without having this communion, there cannot be peace in the church. Now, you asked me about why such continued protest even after synodal decisions and decrees, especially with regard to the reopening of the Basilica. This is exactly the reason I say why we should follow the Pope. His exhortation to proceed in the way of dialogue. The Pope insists on journeying together. Here, no such journeying is even thought of. The priests are ready. The lay faithful are also ready for dialogue. The bishops are not willing. Nothing of a meaningful dialogue yet. Despite all these commotions, except for a couple of exchanges which had a semblance of dialogue, there have never been a purposeful and sincere sitting together or discussion. You are again asking me whether I believe and expect dialogue would have solved the issue. Yes, I hope. There have never been any real attempt or discussion. There wasn't any open exchange of views. If a discussion is held with sincere intent, I do hope it will achieve peace. Because it's not any core issue that's under dispute. It's just about whether you face the altar wall or the congregation while celebrating Holy Mass. Let me share a little from history. It was in 1999, the Bishop's Synod took a decision for the first time. I can still remember how the then Major Archbishop Cardinal Varki Vityatil called me to inquire if a 50-50 formula would solve the issue. I had clearly told him that the formula might be fine for discussion, but it would be extremely difficult to put this into practice. Hence, the best thing would be to wait for the right time and space to implement. Despite all these, they took the decision in favor of the formula. After that synod, the Cardinal once again called me to say, "Father, although you had told me before, in the particular circumstances in the synod, we have somehow taken this decision. Now I understand that it cannot be implemented." To come back, how do you expect to implement a decision taken 20 years before without any discussion whatsoever today? Is it enough just to say that we had already decided 20 years before? Is that a fair way to do in any democratic setup? Of course, it's true the Church cannot be a pure democracy. Now, turning to his fellow priests, Monsignor Narikulam concludes, "Thank you, dear all. Thanks for your solidarity and support. More than any other priest, communities, or priestly koinonia here is the best. I cherish it most. Ours is not a bonding together for any evil, nor to simply forge in opposition to official decisions. I've always felt that it's a communion fighting for a cause, a truth most desirous of a pastoral need. There have been several attempts to destroy this unity, but they can never win. It's because this priestly koinonia has been the tradition of the Archdiocese for decades. I'm sure it'll happily continue for many more years to come." As Father Narikulam concludes, the priests around him raise their voice. "We are with you and your fight for justice. Yes, you're never alone, Father Antony. Thank you."
Antony